Welcome to SportsBeat KC, the Kansas City Star's daily sports podcast. It's Wednesday, December 9th, and I'm Blair Kerkhoff. Tuesday was an eventful day in college basketball around here. Kansas sweated out a one-point victory over Creighton, and beat writers Jesse Newell and Gary Bedore stopped by to talk about what's probably the Jayhawks' best victory of the season. Kansas State? Oh boy. A 13-point loss to Division II Fort Hays State, and that left the program open to some social media ridicule and had Coach Bruce Weber apologizing after the game. Is it time to sound the alarm on the Wildcats? It may be. Kellis Robinett and I discuss where Kansas State goes from here, but let's get going with Jesse and Gary. Jesse Newell and Gary Bedore are with us. They were covering the Kansas-Creighton game on Tuesday afternoon. Let me just say, first of all, I am down with the 4 p.m. tip-off. I don't know about you guys, but having an NFL game on Monday at 4 p.m., that Steelers-Washington game, and then KU-Creighton on Tuesday, I'm kind of digging 4 p.m. live sports action. Were you guys good with that?
I was fine with it, yeah. I mean, Blair, I think this is all of us getting older. I think this is the hands of time turning for us to be like 4 p.m. yes, or 7:30 p.m. no. But yeah, it was good. It was good. What do you think, Gary?
Yeah, I liked it better than 11 a.m. games. I thought it was nice. I timed it, and I was all done with my work by like 7:30. Which isn't bad for a 4 o'clock game.
No. Although if one more free throw had dropped, you would have been later than 7:30 in all likelihood. Kansas ekes out the one-point victory, 73-72. Really good matchup. And I thought, for teams that are as good as these two teams are and for as little, as strange as the season has been in terms of preparation, I thought it was a pretty well-played game, high-level game, and Kansas seemed to be in control at several points, but just could not put away Creighton. And in the end, they get the W, but it really could have been a coin flip game. So let's just get some impressions on this. What were Jesse? What was your biggest takeaway from the outcome?
Yeah, I mean, Kansas is a tough team to figure out, honestly. They are kind of doing what Bill Self does in a lot of seasons, which is they win every single close game, especially every single close game that happens at Allen Fieldhouse. And yet the rankings I look at, the advanced numbers I look at, they're basically falling like a rock because – they're not performing that well over the course of it, and they're not beating teams by large margins, and they're not really super impressive with what they do. And I kind of wrote this after the North Dakota State game. I don't know what to make of it exactly at this point because I don't think that the way KU is playing now is how KU is going to be playing in 2 months. I think they're going to be a primary 5-out team here once Bill Self can get a little break, can get a little practice time, can get with his coaches and scheme up some new things. But right now, I think they're sort of stuck because when you play, 6 games in 13 days and your whole offseason and summer and preseason, you were planning on playing 1 big and 4 guards, and now you're trying to play 5 guards and you only have 1 play in for that. It's just really difficult to completely, change all of your personnel, change all of your plays, change everything that you do in that short a time period, especially when you're trying to take on a top 10 type team in Creighton. So, Dave McCormick had a decent first half and then had an awful second half. And obviously he made the biggest play of the game with that pass out to Jalen Wilson for the 3 late, which gave KU the lead for good. But he cannot continue playing like this and have KU be successful. I mean, he has been the biggest drain on KU offensively just because he's shooting the ball all the time. He's turning the ball over all the time, and he's not an efficient player because he's not going toward the basket when he's shooting. He's not getting close shots. He's shooting these fadeaway jumpers, and then he can't get the offensive rebound when he shoots those. So something's got to change with KU right now, basically. I mean, they're honestly pretty fortunate to be 5-1, and this was just another example of that. I thought Creighton missed a lot of open looks. I thought KU made some looks, probably shot better above their heads a little bit, including a Christian Brown 3 that banked in from a crazy angle. So, I mean, all things considered, I don't want to use the L word extensively throughout the course of the season, but I think KU's been pretty lucky so far. And I think that KU was pretty lucky against Creighton, but you don't take the victory off the scoreboard. So I think KU has to feel pretty good about being 5-1 at this point when they really have not played that well and have yet to get around to what their identity is going to be.
Hey, Gary, one thing that isn't lucky about Kansas is the play of Jalen Wilson. In their probably the two best wins, Kentucky and Creighton, he's been fantastic. Really double doubles, over 20 points in both, 23 in both, I think, and double doubles. I didn't know he was this. I assumed he was good, but I didn't know he was this good. Has he caught you by surprise a little bit?
Yeah, I think so. He really saved the game. 8 for 12, 4 threes, only 2 misses on threes, 10 rebounds. But I think coming into KU, he was ranked in the 40s. So, yeah, he's been kind of a surprise. But
and
I guess he's one of those guys that really did take to heart last year. It wasn't just talk. He went home and fixed up his body to where he wanted to get it, and obviously worked on his game somewhere during the heart of the pandemic. So it'll be interesting to see if he does what Paul Pierce did between his freshman and sophomore year, got great and stayed great, or is this the real Jalen Wilson?
I'll tell you, I like that analogy, Gary, because you were there. You covered Paul Pierce, his career, and he did make that jump from freshman to sophomore year, and was an All-America by a junior. Probably should have been an All-America as a sophomore, but was definitely that player as a junior. And of course, we know what Paul went on to be. But
I should say,
of course,
he's a redshirt freshman before the fans freak out.
You're right. You're right.
Freshman technically. But it's his second year at KU.
Right. Sort of the Ben McLemore path, right?
Yeah.
Sat out his freshman year and then played as a redshirt freshman. But he did have the play at the very end where Gary, I don't know how close you were to the play, the foul on Wilson, but just I guess that's a redshirt freshman mistake that he'll learn from.
Yeah. I noticed on the post game with Gurley, Bill had said he didn't think it was a foul. And in his talk with the print media, he said he'd need to look at the replay. Self thought he blocked it, and I did not see the replay. Jesse, I bet, has. I do not know. I just figured Marcus would hit all 3 free throws and they would play at least one overtime. But, Jesse, was that a foul?
It's tough. I mean, it's usually one I don't see called in that situation, but listen, I don't watch very much NBA. I feel like it's one that's called much more in the NBA than is in college. One of those where if you're sort of in the guy's space a little bit and he goes up for the shot and he kind of contorts his body a little bit and sells it, I thought that's kind of what Zegarowski did. He sort of sold the foul when it went up and the official made the call. So I don't think it's something it's a call that I see very much at the college level. I think I probably see it more at the pro level, but I think more often than not it's not called. But if you're Jalen Wilson, you probably still have to be a little bit smarter than that. You can't risk the possibility of giving a guy 3 free throws. You just gotta, in a crunch time situation, those shots are very difficult to make because you are being guarded. Everybody knows you're shooting a 3, so maybe just a little bit more of have a half step back and let him shoot that shot and take your chances from there.
And he's an excellent player too, Zegarowski. So it was and Jalen Wilson's a new college player. It was a smart play on Zegarowski's part, and he got the job done until the final free throw, which I thought Kansas had a little bit of an edge after Zegarowski made the first 2. Then Bill Self substituted, right? He could put a couple of bigger bodies in the game, and that I think served as a little bit of an icing moment for Zegarowski. And of course, he was long on the third one, and then time ran out as the ball was batted around out of bounds. So Kansas gets the win. Hey, Jesse, I know you wrote about this, and I was curious about it as well. The sort of how Bill Self used Marcus Garrett in the game, and how he may have learned a lesson from the North Dakota State game.
Yeah, it's sort of fascinating to go into these little details because when you cover a team over time, sometimes these things work out, sometimes they don't. But I think Bill Self has come to be not only very adaptable, but he does sort of self-criticize and look into what he does and what he doesn't, or what he does well, and then sometimes what he doesn't do well, and he takes it to heart and he changes if he needs to. So the previous game against North Dakota State, Marcus Garrett played all 20 minutes in the second half, and he was awful in the final few minutes, and he was trying to drive, had no elevation on his jump shot. Bill Self admitted afterwards that Marcus looked tired, and he basically said, well, he looked tired, but I played him all these minutes, and so that was obviously not very smart on my part. And so you saw this game against Creighton, and again, you got to remember, Bill Self's the guy that played Devontae Graham 40 minutes 10 straight games. So he has no problem with a guy, hey, if he trusts you and believes you can handle it, he'll play you 40 minutes. I mean, he has no issue with that. I think Devontae played 14 out of 15 games in that stretch, 40 minutes in a row, and it's nuts. But, 9 minutes left. KU's kind of trying to pull away here. You want to get your best players on the court, but Bill Self pulls out Marcus Garrett and sits him for 3 minutes. Again, he looked at that previous situation, realized Marcus was terrible down the stretch. Marcus comes back in at the 6-minute mark, and that first defensive possession he had, I mean, Robbie Hummel even talked about it on the ESPN broadcast about he just hounded Mitchell Ballock on a switch and just, got out to him on a three, stopped his dribble, hounded him after he picked up his dribble. It led to an air ball by Creighton, and you just saw a completely different player. So just sort of kind of one of those nuances, a small thing, but a small thing that can turn into a big thing. And then Marcus Garrett, obviously in the final 2 minutes, also finished a drive through contact with a much better vertical leap than he showed in the previous game against North Dakota State. So I thought it was a nice small thing for Bill Self to do, where he saw that he had sort of screwed up in the previous game. He put Marcus Garrett in a good position to succeed, and Marcus Garrett ended up succeeding at the end of the game. And that's sort of what coaching is all about, is finding those little edges and exploiting them. And I thought Bill Self did a pretty good job with that when it came to Marcus Garrett.
Gary, it was the first game that fans were allowed in Allen Fieldhouse in more than just a handful. 2,500 tickets were sold. I was really surprised. I'm watching the first half, and there was kind of a questionable offensive foul called against a Creighton player, and I heard boos, a lot of boos. So yeah. Creighton had some fans there, and I noticed Bill Self said something about it after the game, but I just wanted to get your thoughts on what the atmosphere was like in an Allen Fieldhouse that was about an eighth full to capacity.
Yeah, it seemed 2,500 fans spread apart with the cutouts still in there. Seemed like a real game, unlike the first two games with no fans, just a few parents. But in the southwest corner where the media sat in the second deck, it was all Creighton fans. And I asked some guy where he got his ticket, and he said he just bought it off the KU website for $75. But they decided, Creighton fans, that this was a big game and they were going to drive in, and however many of them live in Kansas City, they were going to go. And I think Self estimated it as a quarter of the crowd or whatever, but I'm not sure how many hundred were there. But they kind of removed the home court advantage. And I listened to McDermott after the game, and he pointed out that the team could hear their chants when they were playing defense. And McDermott laughed and said he wonders how many finagled their way to get tickets. So it fired up Creighton, and that means it hurt KU a little bit. So Bill Self, who never complains about the fans like Roy always did after the Colorado game every year.
The Saturday afternoon Colorado game.
2,000 wouldn't come, and Roy used that every year to remind them. But Self said that he would personally buy the tickets if fans, rather than have them sell them to Creighton or any opponent fans.
How funny. So anyway, KU gets the win and moves on. They've got an odd weekend of games, right? Friday, they got a Friday-Sunday coming up. No Saturday game. Is it Omaha on Friday and is it Tarleton State on Sunday?
Yep. 1 o'clock Sunday,
Okay.
6 o'clock Friday.
And then Big 12 after that, right? These are the last two non-conference games, at least until the SEC Challenge game.
That's right. It's starting Texas Tech on Thursday in Lubbock. I've got, this will surprise nobody on the call, but I've got KenPom pulled up very conveniently. And here's how KU starts Big 12 conference play. At Texas Tech, the 4th-ranked team in KenPom. At home against West Virginia, the 6th-ranked team in KenPom. And then at home against Texas, the 5th-ranked team in KenPom. So this is sort of the Big 12 shaping out the way that we talked about in the preseason, which is there are 5 damn good teams in this conference. And Oklahoma is sort of emerging as the 6th, which could be kind of a fringe top 25 team. So, yeah, this thing is about to get real serious real fast. And KU can't even get to really winter break or Christmas break without facing Texas Tech and West Virginia to start off with. So you really can't let your guard down in this particular basketball season because there's always going to be a tough team around the corner in the Big 12.
All right. Sounds good, guys. Great catching up with you, and we will talk again soon.
Sounds good.
Hey, it's Blair. We have a special subscription offer for SportsBeat KC listeners, unlimited digital access to the Kansas City Star's award-winning sports coverage. Sign up now for 1 year of Sports Pass for access to all the sports news, features, and columns presented on the kansascity.com site, and it's only $30. That's a 40% savings off our regular rate. Your subscription will automatically renew after the initial term at $50 unless you tell us to cancel. Your subscription helps support the sports coverage of kansascity.com and the Kansas City Star, and that support has never been more important. Please visit kansascity.com/SportsBeatKC offer to get this special offer. And as always, thanks for listening. All right, Kellis Robinett, you heard the alarm sounding.
Very appropriate.
I think that was from last night, about 9 o'clock when the final score rolled in. I was getting text messages from people because I didn't have the Kansas State Fort Hays State basketball game on. I was just following it on a score app, was paying attention to something else, and I saw the halftime score, and I just thought, no, this is silly. K-State will be back, and no, down 6 at halftime, and it ended up much greater than that by the end. So Kansas State loses big to Division II Fort Hays State of the MIAA, and that was. There have been so many good moments in Bramlage Coliseum that you have seen. In the Wildcats. We saw them win the share of the Big 12 championship a couple years ago. I can remember, beating the Michael Beasley game when he beat KU, ending a long losing streak to the Jayhawks. I can go back. Tons of fun games and great moments for the Wildcats at Bramlage. I think last night was just the opposite, maybe the worst moment for Kansas State basketball in Bramlage Coliseum. What do you think?
If it wasn't, you can see it from where we were at last night. Let's put it that way. It was bad. It was appropriate that there were only 15% of fans allowed in because I don't think anybody else wanted to be there to see it. It was just as bad of a performance as I can remember ever seeing, honestly, from any Kansas State team. And you're right, at halftime they only trailed by 6, and you kind of thought, well, they'll switch the gear and they'll win, but just with the team they had out there was no gear to switch. They looked inept on offense. They seemed to not really even know what they were doing on defense. And outside of Mike McGurl, nobody really, showed any leadership or looked like they didn't want to lose. And Fort Hays State played out of their minds, made great shots, made Kansas State look very bad, which is a concerning thing considering they're a Division II team at a considerable talent disadvantage. But they were blown by Kansas State defenders like they weren't even there. And, Kansas State has only won one game against UMKC this season. And if anyone was still holding out hope that this might be there might be some good things this basketball season, I think yesterday really dropped a bomb on you and made you think, wow, this team has got a long way to go before they're competitive with any Big 12 team, with any Big 12 teams.
I think my favorite moment was the missed dunk. And I forgot who it was, but I did see that clip.
There's one Gordon,
Yep.
Wide open dunk, can't make it. I mean, the thing, it's funny, that really didn't even register with me. The one that I think blew me away was there was a moment where Fort Hayes got the ball to their big man, who's pretty good. He averages something like 20 points a game against teams like Washburn, Emporia State, and whatever. But he shouldn't just be dominating against Kansas State. But they got him the ball. Kansas State's big. I can't remember if it was Carlton Lingard or Davion Bradford, but stood in front of him, one-on-one matchup. Big height advantage for Kansas State, big athletic advantage for Kansas State. And this guy just blew by him, easy layup. I mean, no contest at all about what was going to happen. It was like you were like the roles were reversed almost. The D2 team looked like the D1 team. That's how bad it was.
And just to put a cherry on top, typically games where Division I play Division II opponents don't count in the standing or toward a computer rating for the Division I program. They use them as use those games as exhibition games. They don't count. Well, last night, Fort Hayes State, that game didn't count for that program because they have a maximum number of games that they can play this year. So this one would have counted against it. So they couldn't count that game, but Kansas State did count this game. This game goes on the record. It wasn't an exhibition for the Wildcats. It is a loss to a Division II program. So, all right, Kellis, it is.
And it's the first time they've lost to a in-state team not named Kansas or Wichita State since 1945. How about that?
Oh my gosh! Wow! And they play a lot of. I mean, they play one or two every year in exhibition games. So, well, here we are. Big 12 plays right around the corner in this COVID shortened schedule. They'll be playing Big 12 games here pretty soon. Is all lost. I mean, there were some moments in the first few games, or some individuals that you saw, and you say, they can hang their hat on him, or they can maybe do this. And Bruce Weber's been in this position before with rebuilding teams. He seems to get that job done. But last night's outcome was so discouraging that I don't know what I see in store for this K-State team.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely could at least point out some positives from the first three games, even though they only won one of them. Or I guess it was first four. I can't even keep track anymore. But, last night kind of erased all that. If you're going to point to anything, any saving grace at all, it's that Kansas State was shorthanded last night. They did not have Casey Iziagu, their starting center. They did not have Montavious Murphy, who was their starting power forward in game one. And they didn't have Luke Kasuke, a freshman guard who's one of their best shooters. So they're down three guys. They only had a few days to prepare for this game. I'm not saying by any means that excuses what happens. What happened, Kansas State as a Division I team should still be able to roll whatever players they have out there and win that matchup. It didn't happen. But again, if you're looking for any solace at all, maybe when those guys get back, the team starts to improve a little bit, especially on defense. I mean, giving up 81 points last night was the biggest red flag to me. In game one, that's what everybody said. Oh, well, we gave up a lot of points, but you know what? We've always played good on defense. We'll get this thing fixed. It doesn't seem like it's happening. They looked more out of place than ever last night against a Division II team, and they were scoring at will on them. So, I mean, if you're looking for positives, I still do like Nigel Pack at point guard. I think he's a very encouraging and promising player moving forward. Overall, I like what Mike McGurl has done, especially last night showing a little bit of leadership. But outside of those two things, there's not a whole lot going right now.
Yeah, I agree with you on McGurl. I liked what I heard from him after the game last night, that he put it on his shoulders and didn't duck and run. He stood up and took the questions last night. So, Hey, let's switch it to football real quick, Kellis. You wrote about this today. You had a conversation with Gene Taylor, the athletic director, and I think one of the pieces of information that people would find most interesting is even though the Wildcats, regular season football season is over with a 4-6 record with 5 straight losses to end the regular season, they're still not only in a position to go to a bowl game, but likely to go to a bowl game. Is that right?
Yeah, the math checks out for them. The Big 12 has seven bowl partners, and Kansas State finished 7th in the Big 12 standings. So as long as those games get played, Kansas State is expecting to get an invite. They should get an invite, and as of right now, they're planning to accept it. That could change if too many players get COVID and they're not healthy enough to go. If they're just or if the bowl game or if some of those bowl games get canceled, that could throw a wrench to those plans. But as of right now, both Chris Kleiman and Gene Taylor are on record as saying that they want to play in a bowl game. They want to keep practicing. They want to give these guys an extra chance to compete. So I would look just after Christmas. I think they're probably going to be playing in either Phoenix in what they're now calling the Guaranteed Rate Bowl, which was previously the Cheez-It Bowl, which is now actually what's they're calling a bowl game in Orlando. So very confusing. But they're in the running for that, or another bowl called the First Responder Bowl in Dallas, which I believe is played at the SMU football stadium. And those are both the day after Christmas. It'll be a short turnaround. If they make it, the games will be announced on the 20th, and they'll have to hit the road and be there on the 26th for a game. So that'll be interesting to see how they game plan for that. But yeah, as of right now, as weird as it sounds, they want to go to a bowl of 4 wins. And again, right now, write it in pencil, not ink. But right now, it seems like it's going to happen.
And we do know some bowls are off the table. They not necessarily the Big 12 contracted bowls, but other bowls. I think it's up to 10 bowl games that aren't going to be played this year because of COVID, and they just have decided not to play them.
Yeah, and like I said, that's always a possibility. Some of these games could just decide that it's not worth it. They're not going to play. And, even some of the bowls that are going on, they've announced they're not going to have fans. So it's an interesting time.
Hey, and the other thing in that story, Kellis, and we'll link to it in the show notes, such a revealing story. 80 football players had tested positive for COVID this year. I hadn't seen a number like that for any other program until I read your story with Gene Taylor's comments. That was striking to me. I had no idea that the totals, this is never at one time, but over the course of several months, had as many as 80 players test positive.
Yep. It was, I believe it's just a shade under 80 was the official count last time I checked. And it's a big number to swallow. And I thought it was interesting that Gene pointed out that once you add in contact tracing and people who didn't get it and still had to sit out, you had over 100 players missing minimum 14 days of practice games or whatever this season. So that just goes to show you how hard it was for Kansas State to manage the coronavirus, to avoid COVID, and kind of explains why they were so shorthanded in some games.
Gotcha. Okay. Hey, Kellis, great catching up with you, and we will do it again soon.
All right. Thanks, Blair. Have a good one.
That'll do it for today. Thanks to our production staff of Derek Donovan, Randy Mason, Beth Welsh, Jeff Rosen, Chris Fickett, and Savannah Smith. A tip of the cap to Gary Bedore, Jesse Newell, and Kellis Robinett. Their stories on college basketball can be found in the show notes and on kansascity.com and wichitaeagle.com. Hey, we have another deal for you, especially for those who want to deep dive into the Stars' terrific Chiefs coverage. For a limited time, you can subscribe to Sports Pass for 99 cents a month. That's right, 99 pennies a month. After 3 months, it auto-renews at $5.99 a month unless you cancel. How do you get that? You go to kansascity.com/sportspass2020. That's kansascity.com/sportspass2020. Do you want more than just sports coverage? I know I do. Check out the entire Kansas City Star product, sports news, features, commentary, and analysis, the whole thing. You get all the stories written by my talented colleagues, plus additional news, sports, and business coverage with the e-edition. The details for all of these deals can be found at account.kansascity.com/subscribe. And if you're having trouble hunting down any of these offers, send me an email, bkerkhoff@kcstar.com, and I'll get you to the right place. So whether it's the Sports Pass or the full subscription, you're getting and supporting the best sports and news coverage in Kansas City and helping us produce programs like SportsBeat KC. Thanks for listening, and we'll be back on Thursday with another episode.